And I welcome back to the latest episode of the podcast. As always, here I'm your host, Calvin Glenn Alexander, and tonight we have another episode of the Big Three in OKC with Zev Stein, Joel DeNicola, and Walter Ragnich. Only two guys tonight. Zev and I think you and I need to work on that here for next time. We'll see what we can
Yes,
do. Right?
agreed.
Damn it,
I think
Calvin!
you-
Am I on the wrong show again? I thought this was the catch-up.
Nope. Still the Big Three in
Damn.
OKC.
All right,
Still any
well,
other shows that you're on.
I'll let you guys enjoy it. I will come back for my segment.
Sounds
Joel,
good.
it's
See you
nice
soon
seeing you.
here. Well, on the podcast tonight, we're definitely doing an NBA preview. So I wanted to talk about all of our teams. So I'm going to talk about the Pistons. Joel's going to, of course, talk about the Lakers, even though he has a Thunder jersey on.
There's more.
Zev's gonna
There's
talk
more to
about
that.
the Suns, because as a Thunder fan, he's got to switch it up a little bit. And Walter's got to talk about, of course, the Oklahoma State Thunder. And we want to throw in a little bit of the Snake, KD, and the Nets here in a second as well, too. Just see how this goes. But for a brief rundown, we'll go over-unders of each team, and then at the end, give predictions for Rookie of the Year, as well as MVP, and one team we think will make the playoffs that missed it last year from either conference. So, with all that being said, Walter, take it away with the Thunder here. Do you think the Thunder will make the over or the under, currently set at 23.5 wins?
Yeah, so look, it's at 23.5. That's barely over. I believe last year was 22 wins or 21 wins. I can't remember exactly the number, but I'm going to go ahead and say the Thunder are. Oh, Joel's going crazy there.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Lakers
hey,
going
it's
overtime.
just-
Lakers going
It's just,
overtime.
it's just nice to have you. Hey, Joel, it's
Overtime.
just nice to have you. I know we've given you unlimited vacation time, and I know you've taken advantage. Just nice to have you on the books, you know.
I'm glad.
but, I'm
glad
going
to
with
be back.
yeah. I'm going under, Calvin. Going under for the season. I'm going to go 20 wins for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Wait, is this Walter Ragnich? Is this a realistic
no.
Thunder take?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Hang on a second. What happened?
Wait,
where'd
takes
the
are
Walter
all of my
Ragnich shot
takes.
I love.
All of my
I
takes
know
are
and love
realistic.
go.
All of my
Oh
takes
my-
are
what?
realistic.
All of your takes.
What?
Right.
Please give
So
me a
UCO
take
is
that
really
wasn't
going to be
realistic.
Oklahoma State next week.
That's not it.
in
That's
Stillwater?
not. That is true, but that's not a Thunder take. You're saying my
That's-
Thunder
I-
takes are unrealistic. So, but yes, UCO, but that's a catch up. You know, that's on. You know,
It's a different
listeners,
podcast. You're a
the Big
different
Three
person on a
fans.
different podcast. okay?
Yes, the fans, if they like this, they want more content, they need to go to the catch up. It's a great show. We really just talk about whatever we want. Mainly ends up with me rambling, but it's a great show.
It is a great show. I will say, Walter, I mean, do you think Josh Giddey, Shea Gilgeous, the rest of Nucleus could get him over 23.5?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, just look what happened not last night, tonight. They got off to a really good start. The problem is just carrying the momentum into the fourth
Mhm.
quarter, the third, fourth quarter. It seems like they just have trouble hitting shots. I really like the ball movement they have, and they can get open shots. There's just not enough of the playmakers hitting them. Shea's come on these last two games. He's had two really good games. Lou's going to have to be a really constant, deep three-point shooter, shooting 35% from three for them to keep, being able to keep track and keep pace. But no, really like the effort. Giddey is, 18 years old. He's going to have his nights where he's on. He's going to have his nights where he's off. And then Jeremiah Robinson Earl getting the start tonight instead of Derek Favors. I don't know if it's because they're trying to rest him for back-to-back nights. He came out with 5 quick points, which is really good for the Thunder. Mike Muscala also is going to be able to give you some buckets. But, at the end of the day, they're going to have their rotation. They're just going to have to hit shots.
Well, the one thing I got to say about the Thunder is that you didn't mention one player, and that's Darius Baisley. And Joel asked me a great question actually at the Thunder game on Sunday, which was, who's going to be the second leading scorer for the Thunder this year? I want to ask all three of you guys, but I'll ask Zev as the other Thunder fan from early. Joel's a Laker fan. I know he's got the KD jersey on, but
There's more
Zev,
to
who's
that.
the
I'll tell
second
you in a
leading?
second.
Right, Zev, who's the second leading scorer on the Thunder this year? Who would you guess?
I think it will end up being Dort because he's going to be featured on a lot of those dribble drives and he's got a better spot up. But I think it should be Josh Giddey. However, I know that he's passed first, so that's a hard thing to kind of figure out. But I think that Giddey's size, Giddey is going to realize with all the switching that goes on in the NBA that he's going to have the size advantage pretty often. And so if he can get to whatever his spot becomes, or he can get a mid-range game, then I think he can really become a better scorer. But I think this season it'll be Lu Dort.
Well, you answered that question the exact same way I did, which is a long pause and then a thought process, right?
That is correct.
That's exactly how I answered it too. Joel, who do you think it's going to be?
So I agree with you guys, but more I think about it, obviously now that we're 4 games in, I know we're kind of doing an NBA preview, but it is literally 1 week into the season. So we all 4 of us have got a little sneak preview of what to expect. Here's my take on it. Originally, I was going to say Lou, just because Lou's my favorite Thunder player, just because of his defense abilities and how much havoc he causes against the superstars. But I agree with what the second half of what Zev said about Giddey. Because I think he can be the second leading scorer, averaging 11 points a game. So it's kind of a little give and take there. I think for the Thunder, he can finish this, but it's not going to he's going to score crazy, 20 points, 25 points here and there. But I think he can consistently get 11. His last year, his 1 year in Australia, he averaged 11 points on 32 minutes. So I think his minutes and his scoring will be very, very similar. And if he scores 11 points a game, that's going to put him right there being the second leading scorer for the Thunder, because obviously SGA is going to be in the neighborhood of 20 to 25. And then it's going to kind of be a crapshoot from there. I think they're going to have a lot of guys, 9 to 11 right there. Because I was just sitting there right next to Calvin, and it just came to me. I was like, I think that's a great question. I think everybody could have a case for a Baisley, a Muscala, a Dort, even a Jeremiah Robinson or Earl, like Walter was saying. I'm glad that he kind of has already found favor in them. He's one of my favorite young Thunder players, just because of the energy he brings coming off the bench. And now look at him going against the Warriors and getting a start. So, but if you got to put a gun to my head, I'm going to go Josh Giddey at around 11 points a game. I think that can be the second leading scorer for the Thunder.
Who do you guys know right now who averages the second leading scorer Thunder through 4 games?
No.
It's probably Walter's boy, Mikey Mike.
It is Muscala by literally 0.2 of a point. The other right behind him is Lu Dort, and then it's Josh Giddey and Kenrich Williams all tied with basically 9 points.
And Muscala missed all of the first game too. Just
So that's going to help his average a little bit.
Yeah,
because he was trying to.
Won't count against it. Yeah. But he have 8 tonight.
But I believe
Giddey
had 19. Giddey had 19 against the 76ers, I think. He had a good game.
Yeah, definitely his best game out of the 4, and looks like he only had he went 3 for 10 for 7 tonight.
I want to shout out to the 76ers commentator too, who said he didn't care about Josh Giddey.
I saw that.
Way to go, man.
Yeah.
It's a brave,
he doesn't care if he gets
public address content. And one, I don't know if that was a clean foul or not. I don't think it was a clean foul because Embiid just kept going through him, and it's a late time. Like, the game was decided. I mean, it wasn't really up in the balance. It was just kind of a, like, let the rookie get a dunk. Like, what are we doing, Embiid? Right? You're not going to block it. It's not going to appear on SportsCenter. It might appear on SportsCenter.
No, just the opposite. What? That's a welcome. That's a welcome to the NBA moment. That's the opposite. I got the opposite.
But like,
Embiid did do it to Baisley.
If I'm Embiid, I make a business decision. I don't do that because I'm Embiid and I've gotten hurt all the time too. Right.
I did let my emotions get the better of me during that play. I did see it. I did hear the boos, and since we were all at the game, I did yell, "You suck, Embiid," pretty loud. And most of the fans had left by then there, so I'm pretty sure he heard me. But it was emotions were high. I didn't like the play.
Definitely heard it on the TV broadcast.
Yeah, probably. But hey, shout out to the Thunder. They trusted me with a metal can of beer. Usually they pour it in a plastic cup, but I could have chucked that thing, but I didn't.
Hey, shout out to the Thunder. I went to the game too, and they gave me a free little seltzer, so that was cool, a little 4%.
Oh, yeah. Very nice.
I mean, got to be enjoying the Thunder games, I mean, opening night, looking through the Thunder schedule year, and the last thing we'll kind of talk about in the Thunder is when do you think they win their first game? Because it is a question. Right now, they played the Warriors really, really closely, but now they play the Lakers. They have a stretch here where they play just a bunch of playoff teams, where the first time that they play a team that is not in the playoffs or didn't make the playoffs last year is in November 7th. So it's going to be a little bit.
I'm calling it now. Thunder beat the Lakers tomorrow. Joel, how about that?
Oh my God.
They're
dude.
beating the Los Angeles Lakers. Hey, can we get a score update?
I think they have a chance to beat the Pelicans.
Yes, the Lakers are up
That's what
4.
I'm saying is that the
Up 4,
first team
2
that they
minutes.
play,
Very nice.
yeah, the first team that they play is, and didn't make the playoffs is the Spurs or Pelicans last year. Because Spurs, I'm not counting the 10th seed that got knocked out that first game. So,
Well,
you know,
Calvin,
we'll
how it's
stretch.
going right now? I don't want to play a non-playoff team. We played one, the Rockets, and we got beat by 30. So it seems like we're playing a little better against the better competition. So bring on the Lakers.
That is true. That is true. Our average margin of victory is better against any playoff team versus any non-playoff team from last year.
What a gauntlet of a first 8 games of the schedule.
I know.
Jazz, and then obviously the Houston game that was a dub. 76ers, Warriors, Lakers, Warriors again, Clippers, Lakers again. 7 of those 8 are top tier teams that are going to finish in the top 4 of their
That's rough.
of the West. And the East.
There
for the
are
Sixers.
3 games in a row where the Thunder have a chance to really win or even put together, might I say, a winning streak. Spurs, Pelicans, Kings, November 7th, 10th, and 12th. So
calling it now too, Calvin, we're going to beat the Clippers. We have their unprotected first round pick next year. And so the Clippers need to lose no Kawhi for most of the season. Thunder are going to come out and whoop it so they can get a better pick next year. They can have 2 top lottery picks. How about that?
now, do you know this? That if the Thunder do make the playoffs next year, they lose their first round pick?
Oh, I did not know that. Who's it going to
so
if we lose it?
I think the Rockets, but I could be wrong here.
I wonder what trade that was involved in. Was it the
I think that
Carmelo
was
trade?
part of the pick swap for the I think that was part of the pick swap
For
trade
the Westbrook
for Russ.
deal?
Yeah, I think so.
Calvin, the Thunder have a 3-game road trip, all games in California. You attending any of those games?
I will not be attending any Kings games anytime soon. Just it's way too far to drive. But yes,
Warriors,
I
Clippers,
will.
Lakers, yeah.
Lakers, Clippers. I'm planning on going to both. We'll see how
Nice.
that works out though. With Lakers tickets can be expensive, so we'll see how that works out. Since I gotta fly home.
Probably got to be the cheapest Lakers ticket you can get all season though versus us.
Well, actually, that brings me to my next point here. It might be Pistons might actually be a little bit cheaper than the Thunder, just because the Lakers game is on a Thursday against the Thunder. I forget when the Pistons game is, but I do want to say a couple of things about the Pistons here real quick, just before we get to the Lakers themselves. Pistons over-under is set at 24.5 wins this year. I don't think the Pistons are going to be good. I don't think the Pistons have a reason necessarily to be good. They have a reason really to get Cade Cunningham a lot of playing time, as well as a lot of the other rookies, Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart, a lot of the other second-year guys, Killian Hayes, right? Luka Garza made the team, so get him some minutes. I mean, he got posterized the other night, but we're going to let that one go.
Yes.
I think the Pistons are going to be under 24.5 wins, if I had to guess, and make a prediction here, just because they have, again, no real incentive to win more than that many games. I do think at the end of the year, we're going to be talking about, oh my gosh, does the NBA have a tanking problem again? That's my future question. At the end of the season, are we going to be talking about, does the NBA have a tanking problem again? Kind of like when the Sixers lost so many games in a row for years. And
the Nets did it too.
Look how they are now. And the Nets did too. I guess my bigger question for you guys about the Pistons and the Thunder is that both those teams lost for a long, long time, right? They have had better success now than they did before the tank. They, unquestionably. But the Nets didn't really get any better from their tank. They kind of got fortunate that the Knicks didn't have cap room for KD and Kyrie and whoever else / did manage it well. And on the other hand, with the Sixers, I mean, they had 3 number 1 overall picks, and only one is at least happy to be on the team currently. The other one is unhappy, and then another one got traded to Orlando Magic. So we'll see here. It's going to bring up is tanking worth it when we all said and done. And I think it will be. Tanking is worth it for Preston, for the Thunder. Pistons, yet to be seen. Got some building pieces. With all of that, though, not going to necessarily spend too much time on the Pistons just because go Cade. But what do you guys have?
Real quick, Cade Cunningham. What
it's a right ankle sprain, and he's had it early. He had it earlier on before the preseason started. It was developed in practice.
He didn't play a single game in preseason, right?
He hasn't played it. He hasn't seen the court for the Pistons, period.
Gotcha. Other than Summer League.
Preseason and Summer League. Yeah, but Summer League, he didn't play in the final couple of games, from my understanding, either. And that was more like, it's Summer League, like, let's rest him a little bit. It's a bunch of back-to-backs and that type of stuff, too, and get the other guys that they're actually trying to see if they're going to make the team or not sometime. With Cade, apparently he's going to go play in the G League for a minute or two before he comes up. Now, the G League for the Pistons is actually brand new. It's a brand new G League affiliated with just starting this season. They used to be affiliated with the team in Grand Rapids, but now that they're affiliated with one just across the street, Troy Weaver is bringing that Oklahoma City Thunder, Oklahoma City Blue idea to Detroit. So the Motor City Cruise is the name of them. And they basically share the same practice facility, all type of stuff as the Pistons, just like the Thunder do with the Blue. But Cade apparently will get some minutes in the G League before he comes up, which is concerning. It means the right ankle was not just a sprain. I mean, it was really, he really got it or something bad. Or
Calvin,
the
you're
Pistons just
missing.
go, oh my gosh, he is so incredibly good at basketball. He'll win us too many games if we play him too early, which I'm hoping is the case.
Calvin, you're missing the main story. Is Troy Weaver did not go with my submission for the G League team name, the Motor City Cruise. I'm
The
still
Motor
upset
City
about. Yeah, what did you say the name they chose? It was the Motor City Cruise was the name they chose.
Yeah,
And I wanted to go with the Detroit Slim Shadys.
you did. I
Hey.
submitted that name, and it was popular around the office when I worked for the Pistons previously.
Should have taken it.
I mean, it was submitted. And people are like, not bad. Pretty good idea. Motor City Cruise, maybe a little bit better, but we'll see. Let's do some Eminem themed shirts for the Motor City Cruise, because why not?
Yeah.
With all that being said here, we do have to get to the teams who will be making a run at the postseason. And I want to lead that off with, of course, the Los Angeles Russell Westbrook Lakers / of course, LeBron James led. Joel, how do you feel about the Lakers here? Their over-under is set at 52.5.
So before I start on them, I'm going to make a quick wardrobe change. The reason I bet everybody's kind of freaking out is purposely to Walter to really get a reaction out of him. Obviously, I do dog on the Thunder from time to time. Usually only when Walter's a part of the conversation. Usually
Time
after.
to time.
So I went to one of the preseason games versus the Nuggets, and then 3 of us 4 were obviously at the 76ers game just a couple of nights ago. And there's one thing I was really, really it really took a toll on me is a home opener after nearly 2 years of no NBA basketball for us to attend. I was anticipating, which I was shocked, I was anticipating darn near a sellout, and it was just the opposite. So I had a good conversation with Calvin about that scenario, and there's different ideas behind why it was so empty. But there's one thing I do want to make sure that when it comes to the Thunder, obviously all of us are Oklahoma guys, and so we all followed NBA teams prior to 2008 when we actually got the official team. So I think we kind of all slightly have 2 teams. I know this is Oklahoma City, so we're all going to, of course, cheer for them unless they're going against some of our, our favorite teams. But I think now in that arena, I think you got the hardcore fans and not those bandwagon fans that have kind of been around since, those 2010, 11, 12 years, and now it's kind of slowly but surely starting to fade away. So I plan on being a lot more games. I got my 3-year-old son to go. He's at least completed from start to finish, being there in attendance and not tripping. So that was good to see. And I plan on taking him to a lot more games because them tickets are going to be dirt cheap.
I did tell my dad that. I said, hey, just a heads up, the Thunder tickets the other night for opening night against the Sixers were $4 a piece. And after service fees all said and done, it was $14 for me to take little brother to the game. So 2 tickets for $14 for opening night. Not a great sign for the Thunder. Talking with Joel a little bit, talking with Zed, talking with Walter too, and there's other hypotheses we could all have. I don't know if this is a reflection of COVID or if it's a reflection of it's not basketball season, or if this is a reflection of just the Thunder aren't the greatest, so team performance. But I think it's probably a collection of all of it, / just a couple more. It just was more empty than I thought it would be on opening night, for sure. Joel said it was the complete opposite. I mean, there weren't 0 people there, but the lower level could have definitely been filled in more. The upper level definitely could have been filled in more. And Walter, I think you'd probably agree, where you sat at in the club level in the mezzanine, probably going to filled in filled in a little bit more too. Just opening night, first time seeing Thunder back in the building. That usually is a sold out game. Usually there's shirts on all the seats. There's, it's a huge ordeal. I do got to say, because the last NBA season ended later in the year than previous regular, NBA seasons, it just hasn't, like opening night, I just wasn't as excited for as I usually was. I do think that has to do a lot with team performance on the Thunder side too. Of me going,
Oh, for sure.
oh, okay, all right, like opening night, whatever. It's just because it's how the team is. But I mean, Seven, Walt, do you guys have any other takes on why?
I think it really proves how much of the league and the fan base around a team is superstar based. And, when we had, even if we just had Chris Paul, we still had Chris Paul. And we still had Steven Adams, and we still had these kind of magnets that we had to latch onto. And I think this is the first time since 2008 where the future is indeterminate. And I think that kind of, you're going to see who the real stick with it fans are and who we're going to only come when they're good fans are. And unfortunately, this is our first time dealing with this. So I think now we know what it's like to be a lottery team. We were spoiled for a really long time. And I think now we're actually figuring out what is it like to have one fairly good dude and then a bunch of essentially no names. Outside of Oklahoma City, hardly anybody could name anybody on our team.
Yeah. I think another part of this is that we are drafting a lot of guys that are super high upside, just super high upside, but that means that they may not be the greatest players overall. So we're not getting hyped about him every single night. It's not a Davian Williams, oh my gosh,
Mitchell.
Yeah, Mitchell. Thank you. Yeah. So Williams the other night too at the arena, and I messed up again. Davian Mitchell, right? Where it's like, oh, it's a proven guy who's going to come out, immediately be good and get minutes. We're not drafting him. Now the Kings are, because the Kings have been kind of rough for a while, so they're looking to do something. But we're going, no, let's just go ahead and see what we can do with these high upside guys. Giddey, 18, like Walter said earlier, right? Young dude, a lot of potential. But you go with the high upside guys in the situation. That's just what you do. And you see if you can fit with SGA. And if you can't fit with SGA, then you make a decision. You decide either let's just keep building this thing, let's move off from SGA, or do something. So I don't know. It's a lot of Thunder talk. We did have a viewer question, though. Should the Thunder take Chet Holmgren? Spell check on that, though. Walter, should the Thunder take Chet Holmgren, the Gonzaga guy who weighs basically like $180 soaking wet, but is 7 foot tall?
Yeah, I haven't even checked in on college basketball yet.
Same.
I've been listening to Porter Moses, the new OU coach, go to all the fraternities to get them hyped, and he's having tailgating parties before the football game. So I'm getting pretty hyped about OU basketball. Still don't really know any of the players there. So nope. We'll get there at some point. Not college basketball yet.
Fair enough. But maybe this viewer's already looking towards the draft because it's already that season.
If I could throw a vote in there, I'm going Banchero from Duke. That dude's a monster. If y'all see his highlights, he's a monster. I don't want another skinny toothpick. Like we already got Poku. Yeah, we got Poku and Muscala. We got enough of those guys. Let's go. Let's get some monsters. It's time.
Let's not body shame our NBA players, huh, Joel? Let them be who they want to be.
Hey, those bodies aren't getting dubs, so got to go a different direction.
Everyone's beautiful.
No body shame. All right. Well, with that being said here, Joel, it's been too long. We haven't talked Lakers here in a minute. Walter loves to make sure that we get some Lakers talk in every single podcast.
Well, I would love to talk about the arena, but you know what? Let's move on. Never mind. I'll talk about it in the catch-up. That's the Hey, if you want to hear my opinion, listen to the catch-up.
Walter, you would have been able to talk. You would have been able to talk about it if you would have joined us in section 103, man. But you too bougie up there in the club seats, man. You got to come say what's up, man.
Tickets for free. Damn. Like you said, Joel, I think I'm going to be able to go to a lot of Thunder games this year.
We'll probably be sitting right next to Scott every game. I bet a lot of those empty seats will be available for us. Probably like you said, $20, second row.
Yeah, it won't be.
Definitely.
Hopefully it
Christmas.
gets tougher. Yeah, hopefully it gets tougher because I would love to see the Thunder sell it out this year for a couple of games. But hey, all 4 of us are going to be at the Thunder game tomorrow night against the Lakers, so we'll see.
That's facts. Real quick, I'm gonna jump on the Lakers, but was tonight's game? I haven't seen any videos. Tell me it was more fans there tonight than it was
better.
for the Sixers.
It looked better, yeah.
It looked better. I wasn't there, but it looked better. And tomorrow's going to be a sellout, hopefully.
So I thought so too. My guy Calvin thinks otherwise. I think there's going to be a lot of empty seats out there. Y'all tell me.
When's the last time you knew you could buy a $100 ticket to sit in the lower bowl for a Thunder game against the Lakers?
Lakers, never.
You just bought one for $14, Calvin. I say it's
No,
more than gone up.
Before the season. No.
What I'm saying is that do you think it's going to be a sellout when I'm able to do that?
No.
So we'll wait and see. I mean,
There
NBA
will be more fans, but it will not be a sellout.
The
I
NBA
think it'll be a
definitely
sellout.
planned out how these schedules are working for every single team this year because there's a reason why the Lakers are not playing the Thunder there's a reason why the Lakers aren't playing the Thunder at all this season after December 11th, right? Like the NBA is knocking that one out early. So all being said, I think that the Thunder's best chance to sell it out is maybe they play the Nets later on in the season after it's done with football season, because that's what I'm hoping for here is that it's just it's football season. Everyone's going football stuff. No one's really buying season tickets for the Thunder this year because it's just not a great team. And because of COVID kind of hurt them at the same time where people could drop out of the season tickets without any risk or penalty or roll them over. So everyone does that. And then wherever we're at.
Again, listen to my take on the catch-up once a week.
All right.
Great show.
All right. We'll do.
Let's go ahead and shift gears.
Yeah, let's shift gears to the teams that actually people will probably tune in to hear about. So, Joel, everyone's tuning in to hear about my takes about the Pistons, of course. How can I forget? But Walter, Joel, Zev, let's move it forward here to Lakers, Suns, and Nets. So, Joel, take it away here with the Lakers. 52.5 is the over-under.
Well, we just got one game closer to that 52.5. So we're at 2 now. At the time of this recording, we got an OT victory on the road in San Antonio. Huge gains by AD and Russell as LeBron.
Wait, who had a huge game?
Anthony Davis was the leading scorer.
No, wait, who else?
Anthony Davis had 35.
No. You
35,
said someone else?
35 and 17 and 4.
I heard he hurt his knee. Who was the other guy? I'll get louder.
And so finally, two things. Russell had a good game. He finally hit a 3-pointer because
He had a good game against Memphis.
Going into the night, he was shooting 9% from the 3-point line. And it looks like
he's taking less than 10 threes. Who cares?
No, he's at 16 now. He's 1 for 4 now.
Well, that was after tonight.
Yeah, after tonight. Yeah, he's 1 for 15, 1 for 16. So Russell. So there's a lot of storylines obviously behind the Lakers due to their pretty much overhaul of their roster, only leaving pretty much AD and LeBron James from last year's team. Obviously, we're getting a couple guys back with D. Howard and Rondo, bringing some Avery Bradley, guys that have already had Laker jerseys on before. But now, obviously, the take on them is age. Charles Barkley and Shaq were both going in on the Lakers opening night last Tuesday. A lot of jokes, a lot of laughs about, a lot of being gay going to be needing after the games. Well, this is the Russell Westbrook piece opening night was a disaster. We all watched the game. We all chatted back and forth. Hold on. Hey,
I didn't say anything. I
saw your eyes, man. Chill.
Can
I give a compliment sandwich here? Can I give a little critique and a little positivity? Just chill.
No, when you said it was a nightmare.
It was a nightmare. It
wasn't a nightmare. It wasn't.
Bro, he almost got outscored by Kevin Looney, man. Looney almost had more points than him.
He missed 7 shots.
Oh my! Did you? Yes, I know you watched the game.
The realistic Thunder fan.
You're talking about Mr. Triple Double. Didn't even get double digits in any category, man. Get out of here. Okay, now don't get fired up. I was just about to say a compliment about Russell too, man. Dang.
I missed this.
Go talk about the Lakers.
I missed these comments here.
Luol Deng back on the team. Talk about him.
No, he's off the books finally.
What about Timothy Mozgov?
Hey, so we knew this was going to be a unique fit obviously adding Carmelo into the mix as well, coming off the bench, which he shout out to Carmelo, moving up to 9th on the scoring list in the 28-point performance versus the Grizzlies on Sunday night and getting us the first dub of the season. But this is a marathon. I'm going to go old school coaching verbiage. This is a marathon, not a race. So it's looking a little choppy at the beginning. However, the Russell Westbrook addition tonight was the point of the addition, and it thankfully worked out, even though it took overtime to display this. LeBron is obviously aging. He missed 20-plus games last year. I predict he's going to miss in the neighborhood of 20 games again. I think these little nicks and bruises where he normally, when in year 14, 15, 16, he would be like, nah, I'm cool. I'll play through it. I think this allows him to take that very well-earned break for that load management term that's been popular more and more as each year goes by, and where we can utilize Russell Westbrook's playmaking ability to fill that void in a LeBron-less lineup, such as tonight. So Russell Westbrook went 15 for 27 tonight, got his 10 rebounds, 8 assists, and he was able to be more ball dominant tonight, where he's not used to being off the ball. I mean, in every stop he's made, obviously, and it didn't work, obviously, with James Harden because they had that conflict and it didn't work. And I think that was some critique coming into this season is, man, James Harden and Russell didn't work, and now you're going to have a somewhat similar situation with LeBron and Russell. Well, they still have to figure that out because obviously that is still not resolved just yet. But I think an example with tonight, you can give Russell the ball, get out the way, and let him do his thing. Out of 27 shots, thank God he only shot 4 because it's visible seeing those bricks that he throws up. But if he can get to the rack, get his and ones, get fired up. That's he's an energy. He's just a ball of energy, man. And in the first couple games, he was just a shell of himself. So it's going to be slow out the gate. As far as bringing it back to the question, 52.5. I'm going to go below that. I'm going to go below that because I think it is going to be pretty turbulent here these first couple months of the season. Obviously, this is a team built for the playoffs. So I'm going to go. Did you throw out a number? You said 20, right? For 23.5, Walter?
For the Thunder?
You threw a number out, right?
For
Or
the
you said
Thunder,
below?
I threw out 20. I said
20. Okay, so I was just making sure I got to throw out a number. So 52.5 is what Vegas is saying. Let's go 45. I'm gonna go 45 if anybody's taking notes, and I'll check back in April. I'm gonna go 45 below. But you're gonna run through the playoffs though.
I personally think the Lakers will get to like closer to 50, just because 45 is not proven to always be a surefire playoff team year in, year out. Home court advantage does matter for the Lakers. It will be really nice for them to have all of their fans in whatever building they're in, of course, because they'll have fans show up regardless. They're the Lakers. But I mean, being at home in Staples Center, like it's being at home is nice. So if I'm LeBron, I'm doing top 4 seed no matter what, and I think that's 50 wins. But I do agree on the under for the variety of reasons you said. But mainly here is that LeBron, AD, and Russ will not see the court every single night together. On the Westbrook just having a slow start to the season, it's not anything new to any of us as Thunder fans. As we know, Westbrook takes a little bit of minute to get geared up. He has every single season besides 2017, basically his MVP season, and we'll be prepared for it, And I can't expect a guy to have play on 3 different teams in 3 different years to be just perfect right off the bat, off the jump. Now, granted, missed shots. The shot taking selection could be a lot better, but we'll see how it goes. Walt, what do you think?
I think people need to understand why they think that I was just going crazy at the beginning. Joel, you're not telling the whole story about how you were poking me from the get-go from game 1. Literally, this is what he was doing in our group message. Any mistake by Westbrook, he was immediately filming it and then sending it to me.
There's a lot to film, man. I was getting – man, it wasn't even the missed shot because he went 4 for 13. He finished with 8 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 turnovers. But there's a major offensive rebound that he gave up to Wiggins, where that is one I videoed, and it really, really upset me. Also, the end of the third quarter play where he just dribbled right into a trap, turned it over, and allowed Gary Payton Jr., who played 3 seconds that game, almost to get an easy layup. So those 2 plays stood out, and those are – well, I guess the second one was a turnover. The mixed box out, it's not a stat per se, but those are just effort plays and just IQ plays that I was just very disappointed. But LeBron said after the post-game interview after game 1, It's Russell just put a lot of pressure on himself, unfortunately, being the first game in LA. He had a lot of friends and family in the crowd. And thank God we've seen some slight improvement since game 1, now all the way to game 4.
Zev, what do you think about the Lakers? Sure, are they gonna?
I think if you don't miss 15 free throws in that first game, you win it. But go ahead and blame Westbrook for missing a box out.
I think that the Lakers have the chance to be a high 40s team. I'll say that. I don't know what, but I'll call it a high 40s team. And I think it has to do with chemistry and making sure that none of the melodramatic stuff that happened, like the whatever push happened between Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard, that stuff gets kept to a minimum, the drama and all that stuff. But I think I know the regular season isn't supposed to matter, but I think that it is important for AD, Russ, and LeBron to get playing time, all three together, before the playoffs and consistently, or else they won't be able to play together well, I feel like. I mean, maybe they're just vets and it can click no matter what, but I think it's important for them to get playing time in the regular season together. So it would worry me if LeBron does miss extended time for that ankle.
I think with LeBron now, he's kind of evolved in his career. Whereas that first time with the Heat, I really feel like it did take him half a season to get, acclimated to playing with D Wade and Bosh. But when you look at it with the Cavs, when he went back to the Cavs, he didn't have any time. It didn't take him any time to get acclimated. When he went to the Lakers, it didn't take any time. Granted, that first season, they all got hurt there at the halfway mark, and LeBron, what was it, a hamstring injury, or a groin injury. I really give LeBron credit in that aspect, where I really think as far as before, where he might need half a season, where we say Westbrook might need I don't think he needs that anymore. I think he's just that much of an elite superstar. I think he's really like, I put him and Tom Brady, where Tom Brady just walked into the Buccaneers and he was able to make it work pretty instantly, besides that one game against the Saints.
Yeah. I mean,
what, Joel, you don't agree LeBron's not a superstar? You don't think he's a superstar there? No? All right. Let the record show Joel does not think LeBron is a superstar.
I don't think that's what his silence.
You jumped on that so quick. You were so quick.
He scuffed when I said it. He scuffed when I said it. Is that not? Do you not agree with the statement, Joel?
No, you started bringing Tom Brady in here, man. It's an NBA podcast, man. Let's keep it NBA.
Dude, I can't help it. Tom Brady is so freaking. You want to talk about, Tom could take games off for rest for being old, not LeBron, because isn't Tom Brady like 8 years older than LeBron? I mean, my gosh. Granted, they only play 16 games. Granted, they only play 16, not 82, but
17.
Tom Brady's just good, man. We'll talk about more in the catch-up.
17.
I hate Tom Brady, but
the NFL expanded to 17 game season.
Yeah, okay, I know you're the expert in that field, Calvin. Yes.
I'm going to reiterate it just let the record show.
Last football thing. Hey, Joel, do you know who the Packers beat on Sunday? I can't remember.
Man, oh my God! Don't get me started. The 5-yard line, we couldn't get touchdowns. Like we was within the 5-yard line 2 times. Man, we walked out with 0 points. That don't stop, bro. This is the NBA podcast, man. Let's stay the NBA. Come on.
Taylor Heineke.
Hey, we'll talk about it in the catch-up. You want to come on the catch-up? We'll talk about it.
Walter is really hyping up the catch-up show. We have not recorded one in a little bit.
Yeah.
So
what can I say?
If you are tuning into the catch-up podcast, it's been a little bit since we recorded one, but we'll get one in here soon. Maybe on Friday. We'll see.
Well, that was because I joined the OSU one by mistake 2 weeks ago.
That's my fault.
Yeah. No, it's my fault. But, OSU won that week, and then you didn't have me on, and then they lost. So, again, more about, we'll catch up on the catch-up with that. Joel's right. NBA, we'll stick to NBA.
Fair enough. That's the longest way to say that. With the Suns. So the Suns, led by Chris Paul, Devin
Who's
Booker.
Bo Wilson?
Bo Wilson is a good friend of the show. He's been on here before. And he is trying to test out the Facebook comments. So if you're watching the show live, Bo, we can see your comment. So feel free to comment again here with any other questions you might have. with that being said, it's great doing a live podcast just because we have newfound technology that I've ventured into. So, Zev, the Phoenix Suns, Robert Sarver, did not decide to pay DeAndre Jordan. He is one of the few players. Excuse me, thank you. Yeah, DeAndre Ayton. Of course, he wouldn't pay DeAndre Jordan, but DeAndre Ayton.
That's our guy. That's our guy.
That's your guy. My bad. That's your guy. Last year he was the Nets guy. Actually, I think earlier this year he was the. But anyways, with that being said, what's your take on them Sarver basically just proving that he's not going to pay guys and not paying Ayton?
Man, that's a risky.
That's the least of his worries right now. Am I right, Zev? The Suns owner.
Chris Paul joins the Clippers, and then all of a
happened?
sudden,
What'd that owner do now? What happened?
Apparently,
Then-
some stories are going to be coming out about that owner, about doing some Donald Sterling-like things,
Oh no.
and that it's so serious that they're going to try to remove him. So,
Well, I didn't know that. Okay.
no.
we can go back to ask Zev the same question.
Yeah. Well, you can learn, Calvin. You can learn more on the ketchup about it.
Bro, I think you've said the catch up 30 times. It's a great podcast. Please
Great
listen to the
podcast.
rest of this one while you're at it. Zev, DeAndre Ayton, good, bad, mediocre? Who knows?
I think their over under is at 51.5, and I think that based on the parity of the West right now and the fact that Cameron Payne's going to be out for probably a little while, I think that they're going to be a low 40s team. And through no fault of their own,
Hot take.
through no fault of their own. But I think that the West is just going to be really competitive this year, and I think that I'm looking at this roster and I don't know. I don't see no one. They didn't make any changes really in the offseason. They didn't draft anybody, and this is a league of adjustments, right? And I think everybody else has kind of jumped on we're going to try to change our team and move forward. But I think Chris Paul and Devin Booker have a good season. I don't know if DeAndre Ayton's mentality is affected by not getting paid. Do you think he does less because of that?
I don't know if he does less because of that. I would, if it was me, of course, I would do more to show why I should have gotten paid.
Right.
But because you always talk about guys playing better in a contract tier, I go with the other side that I think the Suns could be just a really good regular season team again. I think that when it comes down to it, we're talking about the Lakers being in a top 4 seed in the West. Well, you know what? I think the Lakers, believe it or not, are going to be in the Western Conference Finals. And it just matters who they're going to be playing against. I'm not ready to make the prediction of who's going to be playing in the finals, but I think it'll be the Lakers Western Conference Finals.
Lakers Nets.
So, well, go for it.
I will
but
say
that's the consensus idea. I just think there's other teams that are going to be there. I think the Suns are going to be one of those teams that they play really good night in, night out. Chris Paul, knock on some wood, doesn't get injured, then they're good, right? Because Cam Payne, when he comes back, will have some minutes. They paid Bridges, they paid Chris Paul, and they paid Booker. Aiden's one of those guys where you regrettably would have to pay. That's what I take it as.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's one of those where Bridges is where the league is at right now. You pay that guy for sure. He could have gotten paid probably more on the open market. Chris Paul, you just gotta pay him. He's proving that with his diet and other strategies, whatever, that he's able to play a lot longer than we've seen guys play at his size for this long. And Booker, you pay him, period. We all know that. So I just think the Suns will be like the Jazz and will be like the Nuggets, and it could be the top 4 seeds in the West or in some order, Suns, Nuggets, Jazz, and Lakers. And I think the Lakers should be the 4th seed, and we could be talking about the Suns as the 1 or 2 seed, but may not matter at the end of the day. They may just not have enough firepower to go up against the Lakers when the Lakers just
and that's
have the guys in ISO ball.
That's the main thing that I'm seeing is that they don't have the right matchups for a lot of that team. I think they did make a good signing in having JaVale McGee come to the team. I think that's a good addition.
2020 champion.
Yes.
Hey,
But
Remember,
don't
that was
know.
that was an asterisk season. Remember, Joel, so it doesn't count. Asterisk.
No, the hardest championship to ever win.
No, quite the opposite. It was an asterisk season.
Dude, the
Anyways,
dudes didn't get to,
hey,
they didn't get to see their
interrupting
families
Zeb.
for 3
You were-
months. They didn't
I
get to
will
see their family
say-
for 3 months.
They went
dude.
in the second round.
I will
For
say
the
about
last
the
couple of
Suns
weeks,
that
and it was
No, second round they were in there. Sorry, Zev. Go ahead.
Oh,
not
good.
the whole families. They only got to bring like 2-3 people, bro. It wasn't like moms and grandmas and
LeBron
aunties
got
and
all
uncles,
his
bro.
kids and his wife. Got everyone he needed. His immediate family. Rondo got his brothers that Westbrook got into a fight with.
What?
Man, how about Rondo pointing a finger gun at someone? Man, that's old school. I love it.
And then
Sorry,
getting
I
Zach.
kicked out.
slapped his hand and then got kicked out of the arena, man.
Little
That
bang,
is one
bang.
heck of a bait. Rondo baited him into that for sure.
Okay, Zev. I'm sorry. You're shaking your
No,
head.
you're good.
Zev, I'm sorry.
All good. I was going to say, just to add one more thing on that, I think that Mikal Bridges will, to me, be a candidate for most improved player if he holds up his numbers this year. Right now, he's already averaging 17 points per game, and that's 4 up from last season. And I think he's really going to be the difference maker on that squad, both him and Cam Johnson.
Well, they definitely paid him like he's going to. What is it, 4 years, $90 million for Mikal Bridges?
There is
Have to
something to
pay
be
him that
said
money.
about that
Have to
kind
pay him.
of cutting, but can also shoot small forward right now in the NBA. It's a real valuable position.
Last year, if you tuned in for the NBA preseason prediction, they had I talked about Jalen Smith in detail for no good reason because he didn't do anything. I had him as my rookie of the year candidate.
Whew, that was tough.
Thanks.
That was
That was the toughest L of 2020. I got to say, for me personally, at least, it was a tough one. But
At least you didn't pick the Timberwolves to make the playoffs.
you know what?
Hey, we all had
Good
bad
point.
takes. I think I had
Good
the
point.
Bucks losing in the first round and they won the damn championship, so we all had bad takes.
Regardless of it, I do think the Suns will be pretty darn good. I think they'll be. I actually pick them to go over 51.5. I just, again, this is one of those. They proved it to me last year that they can make it to the finals. Regardless, Lakers had injuries.
Anthony
every
Davis
team they
being
played
injured had a lot to do with that, but okay.
every team had injuries, but they didn't have injuries in the regular season. Not that many, right? The 82 games, Suns stayed healthy enough, and they have a young group of guys, right? Like, it is a weird thing that in 2021 we're talking about Campaign, who was sitting on his couch 2 years ago, as LeBron gave him heads up on that. Hey, you know what? You don't take anything for granted, but we're talking about Campaign providing quality minutes for an NBA playoff team.
And we all know that Campaign gonna do what Campaign gonna do.
We used to have there was a podcast titled "Campaigning for Campaign" for Bedlam Brother, and it still ranks as one of the great titles that I've put up there and thought about.
That's
But
great.
they did get Shamet over the offseason. I don't know if that's a great deal or not. I think Harden was just annoyed by Shamet by the end of the season with the Nets. But
Why? Is that a story I don't know about?
oh, I mean, just basically like Joe Harris right now for the Nets. It's not making that many threes. We're talking about Malik Monk not making that many threes. Basically, when you have a guy and that's the only thing you want him to do is just make threes, and he doesn't make the threes, it's like, what do we have Mayer for? That's kind of Shamit's deal, was with the Nets, right? So because they had Shamit and of course Joe Harris, and
Jeff Green too.
And Jeff Green, but Jeff Green's not. He's playing like a small five or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just a weird. The Nets were doing some weird stuff. But anyways, they got Shaman over the offseason. I just think it's another one of those guys that they can just use to throw out there for a couple of games. They have another former Thunder guy, Abdul Nader. Came over in that Chris Paul trade, I believe.
Yep.
And Elfrid Payton. But like you said, Cam Johnson, he's going to be quality for him. So Mikal Bridges and Devin Booker. And those three guys are young enough to play a lot of minutes every single night, got out some wins, that type of stuff.
And
we're talking
can't
about
forget the nitty and gritty Jay Crowder, who gets in everybody's grill and pisses all the people off.
True. Jay Crowder and Russell Westbrook are bringing the same mentality every single night to try to fire up their teams. And that's something you need on a team that I think is going to win more than 52 games or 52 games or more. Because I also don't think 52 is that high of a bar when it's an 82 game season as opposed to last year when it's a 72 game season.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, I
mean,
amend what I said. High 40s, not low 40s.
There you go. That's better.
Yeah.
That's better. That's better. No, so the Suns, you always say respect your opponents, and I got mad respect for the Suns. Obviously, what they did last year, and also what they did to us on Friday night. But they have the same starting lineup that was 2 games away from being an NBA champion. So we're talking about additions and rookies. Well, they didn't need any of that. Like I said, I'm a big JaVale McGee guy, not just because of the Lakers connection, but just his whole career, just as athleticism. He's a freak athlete, 7 foot. But I think with Chris Paul's leadership, Devin Booker being a cold-hearted killer, even though he's off to a very, very slow start to start these first few games of the year. I think they're 1-2 right now. But no, this is still a very, very, very challenging team that'll fight for one of those top spots in the NBA playoff scene.
Walter, what do you think about the Suns here?
Yeah, no, just kind of what Zev said in the beginning. It's going to be a tough Western Conference. Joel obviously hit the nail on the hammer and said the number one matchup everyone's looking forward to see in the NBA Finals is going to be the Lakers and the Nets. But I think a close second is going to be wanting to see the Nets and the Warriors. And the Warriors are going to be there if Clay comes back, somewhat to what he was pre-injury. I know it's tough with a torn ACL and
is it January?
Blues Achilles. I don't know. I thought it was closer to December, but it could be wrong. And then also getting James Wiseman back, who was making good progress before he got hurt. So obviously,
Kuminga, is he in like the G League or?
No, I think Kuminga's hurt too, isn't he?
I haven't seen him on the court in any game.
He had a really good summer league, and then I don't know.
And then, of course, the X factors of the Mavericks. Are they going to get better with Luka? Then you've got the Clippers. Is Paul George going to be able to hold the ship? I sure hope not before Kawhi comes back from injury. But, yeah, and then you've got the Suns in Utah right there. And, they could definitely make some noise if LeBron sits out 20 games a year.
Don't sleep
games
on Memphis.
I mean, don't sleep on them, but I'm not going to put them in the category as the Lakers.
No, they'll be a play-in team. they'll be a solid 10 seed.
Yeah, and so
Calvin,
it's going to be tough for the Suns. It's going to be really tough for the Suns.
Well, so 1 second here on the Nets, and that does lead into the dark horses. So Nets is over under set at 56.5. Listen, I know no one's really coming to this podcast or any podcast in general about sports to talk about Kyrie Irving, but I will say this. There's no way in my mind the Nets win 56.5 games without Kyrie Irving from the sheer fact that they will have guys sit. KD and James Harden were not healthy all last season. They needed to sit. They needed time. They needed kind of like we're talking about LeBron. They've played so many minutes throughout their career. They need time to rest, right? The All-Star break's not 3 weeks long, etc. Having Kyrie Irving, then that means that you can rotate those guys in and out where last season we only saw KD, Kyrie, and James Harden play I forget how many minutes it was together, but it wasn't a lot, right? I think that team beats the Bucks and goes to the NBA Finals if Kyrie and James Harden play against the Bucks, which they didn't. We're talking about KD almost took the Nets by himself.
His foot
was just one size too big, right? So,
yeah.
With that being said, the Nets have not got off to a great start. James Harden doesn't look good at all whatsoever. Granted, I never thought James Harden would be in elite physical shape, but it's a weird thing to say when myself sitting here in Oklahoma City might be in better shape than James Harden. So, granted, there's a lot more that James Harden can be doing every single day to get better, but resting doesn't hurt any guy. It only helps without Kyrie. And if Kyrie doesn't play this whole season, the Nets could top out at 55 wins. It's just so hard for me to believe that in the Eastern Conference, which is getting tougher every single season, which has Miami Heat with a bunch of guys. Victor Oladipo will come back at some point too for them. The Bucks, Sixers will be decent, right? There's just other teams that are going to have to play against. The Bulls are not going to take a night out. The Nets aren't going to be able to take a cruise control night that often.
It's funny.
Um,
And the small snippet, though, top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference right now. You've already said one. Number 1's the Bulls. Number 2 is the Knicks. And number 3 is the Hornets.
and then, you know what I got to say? You know what? Bulls have played the Pistons twice. So,
Yeah.
you know, Pistons without their number 1 overall draft pick and Cade
Right.
Cunningham. Wonder how they won those games, right? I mean, also, it's weird to me that Michael Jordan in the last 2 years that he won championships with the Bulls didn't go 4-0 one of those 2 seasons. It's just the first season of his is just when he won the 4th championship. They won 4 games in a row. But regardless, however, that stat is configured for the Bulls to go 4-0 for the first time since 96-97 season. It's just the Eastern Conference is getting better. Not necessarily better just top to bottom, but the top teams are getting better every single season. And that 56.5 wins in some years has been, number 2, number 3 seed in the East. I just don't see I see the Nets kind of doing the same thing as the Lakers, to be honest. Nets, the biggest difference between the Nets and Lakers, just from a home court advantage standpoint, is that the Nets home court advantage versus the Lakers home court advantage is night and day. I mean, there are as many jokes about certain teams not having fans for their parades as there are for the Nets. So we'll see if it all works out. The Nets bandwagoner fan galore for sure, but I don't see it. I see 55 wins. I see 54 wins. Really, really close to 56.5. I just don't see 56 or more.
Okay.
Maybe even 56 wins, to be honest, because that still is the under of 56.5. Any of you guys differ on that one? And then we'll move on to dark horse teams here.
No, I think you're spot on.
I did watch a little segment of Nets versus Wizards yesterday. Did anybody catch that game? It was on NBA TV. So Bruce Brown has the easiest job in the world.
Yes.
Of all his points that he scored last night, he scored 14 points on 6 shots. All 6 shots that he made were wide open layups. I think majority of them were passed from James Harden. The Wizards are like, hey, we're going to key on James Harden. We're going to key on KD. Pay a little attention to Joe Harris a little bit. They did such a disrespectful job on Bruce Brown. It was hysterical. Like, it stood out to me. I'm like, that's another layup. And there was nobody that contested it. Oh, that's another one and another one. Like, oh man, yeah, they are literally trying to play 5-on-4, but the Nets are like, nah, we got another guy out there and he can get buckets. I thought it was hilarious. But and then KD, man, again, one of the most efficient scorers in NBA history. Man, you would never know he had any type of Achilles injuries, that he had with the Warriors.
And then he played the Olympics like he did, and then he just comes into the NBA season.
Killing.
Very impressive Olympics too. When
that's true.
He led him to the gold all by himself.
It was he shot a deep 3 that was Bradley Beal's in his face. I want to say Kuzma came over double team. It was a buzzer beater. I don't know if it was the first or second quarter or late, maybe not a buzzer beater, a couple seconds left on the clock. And he pulled up on the E on Barclays Center, the E in center, just pulled up with the double team as if he was just shooting in the gym by himself, man. Kevin Durant is a cold-hearted killer, man. Golly.
Yep.
He is a snake.
That's the reason I got him here.
Well, with all that being said, I do want to ask you guys about the dark horse NBA teams. So which team do you think that did not make the playoffs last year? Now you could have played a playing game, but lost the playing game, right? So I'm not including the Wizards, is my point. Which team do you think that did not make the playoffs last year has the best shot at making the playoffs this year? What's your pick? Walt, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Eastern Conference. I'm going to go with the Hornets.
Okay.
Granted, they made it in the play-in game, but man, they've looked pretty impressive to me.
You think Ish Smith takes them to the playoffs?
Is that where you end up going from the Wizards to the? I didn't even realize that pickup.
Apparently, LaMelo Ball told the Hornets coach last night, "Hey, Ish Smith's going off. I'll sit the whole 4th quarter." Which props to LaMelo Ball for trusting your NBA vet Ish Smith. He's taken that far.
Right.
It's bizarre.
But not a shout out to the Hornets. I guess this is Sirius XM saying This was a tweet. The Charlotte Hornets are 3-0 for the first time in franchise history.
Wow.
And he retweeted and said, really bright future in a small market, and didn't go on a multi-year tank job like they're doing in OKC, which is a black eye for the NBA. The balls to say that, considering the Hornets have made the playoffs like one time in the last 20 years.
And part of their record is they had a 7-win season.
Yeah. The balls on him.
Oof.
Great job.
Yeah. Where's Kemba Walker at these days? That's my question for the Hornets. They're probably happy they don't have to pay him. But
they had Kemba Walker on their team. They still weren't making the playoffs.
they have Terry Rozier, and they might make the playoffs now. So Celtics
Scary
fans,
Terry.
who won that situation? Shout out to Bill Simmons for that. But I'll say mine next year. Mine is also an Eastern Conference team, believe it or not.
Oh, don't take mine.
Team.
Don't take mine.
Oh, wait.
mine.
Joel, I'll let you go first.
No. You go. You go.
Who's your team, Joel? Joel, who's your team?
Man,
Who's your team, Joel?
you guys already
look
talked
at
about it a little bit. That's Chi-Town, man.
Yeah,
Golly.
Billy!
That's that.
Billy Donovan!
2 games short of making a play-in tournament last year with obviously a mid-season or late season trade getting Voos, and now you got DeRozan, and then man Lonzo Ball. Man, he's finally coming together. That shot looks beautiful. Put in some major work on changing his entire form. And goodness gracious, man, they look fun out there. Not to mention they also added a champion with Caruso out there. So that team is not only really fun to watch, but I know Calvin was slighting them just a little bit due to their opponents. I mean, hey, you got to play who you got to play in front of you, and they took care of business so far. And I look forward to them really, really not saying they're going to be a top 2-3 seed, but I'm definitely guaranteed to be in the playoffs for sure.
All right, well, that was my team, but I have a different team. So no, you're good. Great minds think alike, right? But Zev, I'll toss it to you here so I can come up with my team here in just a second. Zev, who's your team?
You can have the same team,
Please.
Calvin. It's okay.
No. I want to be different, Walter. I want to be different.
I respect it.
I
went to class in School of Advanced Studies. I want to be different.
Right. I think the easy answer would be to say the Bulls,
I got Joel
right?
now.
But I think that this Pacers team could be a little bit of a dark horse. Could be a little bit of a 6 or 7 seed that gives a team some trouble in the first round. I think Rick Carlisle is a fantastic coach. It's cool to see him back in Indiana. And I think that they're just the grit and grind kind of team that could surprise someone. I think you could also say Atlanta, but then they wouldn't be surprising because last year. So it would be maybe more surprising if they did it 2 years in a row. But I think the Pacers have a chance to be one of those teams that surprises people. Just because they play a not boring brand of basketball, but a non-headline brand of basketball. And they'll just do pretty well under Carlisle, I think.
They might have the rookie of the year too.
Yes, maybe.
That boy looks smooth. He looked like an NBA vet.
I weirdly think that Jalen Green's going to win NBA Rookie of the Year just because he'll have some more highlights, but I do like Chris Duarte winning NBA Rookie of the Year. That would be a pick of mine, but it's not actually my pick. So before we get to that, it's tough to pick a Western Conference team that I think didn't make the playoffs last year, but makes the playoffs this year. But I'm going to go out on a limb and do it because, again, I still want to be different.
Go Timberwolves. Come on, Calvin. Go Timberwolves.
I have to bite the bullet here, and I have to say,
You staying in the East? You staying in the East or you going West?
No, he's going Timberwolves.
I gotta go West. I gotta go
Watch it.
West.
Yeah, you
gonna
got
do
to
go West.
There was
He's
nobody
going
else on the
Timberwolves.
East to make an argument for.
Hey, come on.
I mean, to be honest, like Pacers for Carlisle, I was like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
That
You
was
know,
good.
Rick
That was
Carlisle
solid.
doesn't miss the playoffs, especially when the Pacers have no real reason to tank too. So that was a great pick by Zev.
All right, spit it out, Calvin. Come on. Timberwolves.
Walter, you really want me to take the
it's
Timberwolves,
easy.
man? It's so hard for me to do this. They have burned me so hard in the past.
Timberwolves.
Don't-
You going
don't.
Timberwolves?
I've gotten
He's going
excited for the Timber Pops
No,
before,
no.
Walter.
No,
Or is he
leave it to
going
Walter.
Kings? He's not going Kings.
No,
He's
it's
I
going
can't go
Kings.
Kings. Oh gosh, I can't go
Oof.
Kings.
You can't
They
go
have their
Kings.
best
I
three
understand.
players are all guards that can't play on the court at the same
I
time.
understand.
Can't go
Well, I'm
Kings.
trying to figure
Walter, It's a no-brainer. It's a team that didn't make the playoffs last year. It's an obvious one. They're going to
Oh,
be
the Memphis. He's going Memphis.
No. Memphis made the
Just
playoffs.
let the man.
Memphis made
Oh
the
yeah,
playoffs.
Memphis made the playoffs.
They did make the
Memphis made the
playoffs.
playoffs.
They did make the playoffs.
If he's going west, it's obvious.
Oh, curious who you think it is then, Joel. Because I don't think it's obvious, but I unfortunately just really think that today is a make or break year for Zion Williamson and the New Orleans Pelicans. So if Zion is going to
I was thinking
shut up
Pelicans,
here,
yeah.
No.
yeah, I can't. I was going to say Denver Pop knocked me out of it. I just cannot believe that the Pelicans.
Oh, are you thinking Warriors? Joel?
Why would it not be Warriors?
Well, because they're
Well,
not really
I'm
a
not-
dark horse. Okay, I get it now.
He said non-playoff team from last year. So
Okay, but we know
that's
they're
fair.
going to be good.
They're
Yeah,
7-7.
fair. Okay,
That's fair.
yeah,
To be honest,
right,
I was
yeah.
just giving it to the Warriors. I
Good
was
job,
just giving
Goat.
them that they had made it in. But
Why
that's
the
that's
Goat?
that's
Because it's that obvious.
Because
That's
it's that
why he's the
obvious.
Goat.
Yeah, it's just that's both.
Okay.
But then again, Joel gets that easy one-handed layup just because it's right there. So he would take the Warriors.
Have they put your name on the water tower outside El Reno yet? Goat? Not yet. Not yet. We're going to commission for that. Don't worry, we'll get that.
We'll see. But I'm going to go out on a huge limb. I mean, the thinnest of limbs here in the NBA. And I'm going to go with the Pelicans, mainly because I just really want to see Zion Williamson play some playoff basketball, some meaningful basketball. No more Stan Van Gundy. No Lonzo Ball, but it's just this team is a weird team. But
bad team.
It's a very bad team.
they basically said, you know what? Let's go ahead and get Steven Adams and Eric Bledsoe. And then 1 year later, they're like, nope, never mind, we're out. And it's just bizarre. Dave Griffin is fumbling the bag right and left with every single move he makes. And I wish he wasn't. I really do want to see Zion Williamson play really good basketball. I think he was drafted to the worst possible team for him to get drafted to be honest. I mean, if he's
I think
drafted
the Kings would have been worse, but
well, sure. But if he's drafted the Knicks,
oh yeah,
Leon Rose, all those guys,
yeah.
deals been put together. Ben Simmons is probably the worst guy for him to play with, but at least Clutch would have been trying to, get Ben Simmons and and Zion together, which again, not a great lineup. But this is more out of a hope and plea that they make the playoffs, less of a guarantee. It's just Zion Williamson was so much fun to watch at Duke. His shoe ripping apart, and now he has got his own shoe in the NBA. The youngest guy ever to have his own shoe. We were talking about sky expectations for this guy, and I never thought he was going to light up from three. I never thought he was going to play kind of what we see as the new brand of basketball. But he's not there. So I thought he's not cutting it. It's just he's been injured.
Yeah. Do you think that if they don't do well this season that he tries to go somewhere else in the offseason?
We have never seen in the NBA history, never seen a guy not take.
Uh-oh.
At least for my
man.
Left us on the cliffhanger.
What a freeze.
Cliffhanger.
That
wow.
is brilliant.
Had
Brilliant,
no idea what his take was.
How did you get it to do that?
It was going to be good too.
Oh my gosh!
What?
The Bills.
Wow.
Calvin, you froze
You
for
froze.
10
Your
seconds.
face. Yep.
Literally, the
this
second
screen
before
went
we
black
started.
for a second, then I came right
This-
back. So if you're listening to this, you'll have to hear my full entire take on the recorded episode. I don't know what to tell you. No, I mean, I'm not. I mean,
Or you can hear it on the catch up, right? You'll give the take.
God dang it.
God damn, Walter. I forget where you guys lost me because I don't know when you guys lost me. But I just really hope that the Pelicans do something. I don't think I was necessarily on a huge cliffhanger, but the Pelicans they were the Jazz. They rebrand. They were the Hornets. Whatever they rebrand. They go to the Pelicans. Pelicans has got to be one of the weirdest mascots.
Agreed.
Weirdest teams, weirdest all this type of stuff. It just this is a hope, right? I looked through this roster from the Pelicans, and I don't even know what their best roster lineup is. I mean, Devontae Graham's on the team. Had no idea. Jackson
starts.
Hayes. I mean,
And
it's
neither did he.
It starts.
it's a tough lineup to try to say it's going to make the Western Conference playoffs, and I'm really regretting it. But I wanted to throw out a fourth team. Honestly, I just wanted to throw out a fourth team as an idea, And if this team does make the playoffs, I'll be drinking one for each of you guys too, because it's just not going to happen. But I just Sadaransky's on this team. Yeah, you know what? Never mind. Screw it. I'm back all the way out. Never
Thank
mind.
God. Thank
It's gonna be the
God.
Bulls. Bulls, maybe the
Pick
Timberwolves.
Warriors. Pick the Warriors. That's what
Man,
we
Oh,
now
I
that
think
I'm
it's
looking
surefire
at it,
better
I
than
feel
Warriors.
bad for Brandon Ingram being stuck on the Pelicans. That's,
Valanciunas is on this roster.
yeah.
He got
He's
into a
like
fight with Pat Bev. I saw that. That was interesting.
Yeah, who's their third best player? Jackson Hayes or Valanciunas?
Probably the rookie they drafted. He's one of the best 3-point
Careless
shooters.
Yeah,
Jr.?
but it's probably Devontae
Uh,
Graham. Are you guys crazy?
That's a
Mm.
real bad sign, then, my guy.
Yeah.
It's a
Didn't
real
he
bad
average
sign.
like 20 points for the Hornets last year?
Yeah.
2
And
years
got
ago?
and look, he got shoot out of town because they got better talent.
Yes.
All right, well, let's
regardless.
MVP candidate or rookie of the year. Let's do MVP last. So rookie of the year, Walter. Tossing it back to you again here.
I'm gonna take my Thunder hat off. I'm gonna go Josh Giddey. No,
You took the hat off?
I'm gonna go Jalen Green from the Rockets, and close second probably Davion Mitchell for the Kings. But I'm gonna go Green. I think he's just gonna. I think on this team they might not win a lot of games, but he's gonna score a lot of points, and points make that rookie of the year. You know, so I'm gonna go with Jalen Green.
Wow, way to go out on a limb.
Yep. You're welcome. Hey, last year I called it. I said LaMelo Ball is going to win Rookie of the Year. You said, way to go out on a limb, and guess what? He won the Rookie of the Year. I'm sorry, I'm right.
Hey,
He was a third overall
fair.
pick. Way to go out on a limb. I went out on a limb. I took the 10th overall pick, and
Look what happened. He didn't play.
I was so wrong.
And
So
then your other guy, Cole Anthony, tore his ACL or something.
Again, so wrong.
who was your insider on that one? Because when you said that last year, I was taken back.
Jalen
man.
Smith.
You had to have an insider.
No, he was there
there
at
was an
Summer
article.
League. Calvin was there scouting at Summer League. He saw
I
Jalen
was not at
Smith and
Summer League.
liked
Nope,
him.
I was at Summer League this year. I was not
I
at
was
Summer
saying
League.
that they didn't-
exist
they didn't-
last
Oh, it's
year.
they didn't
because
have
of
Summer
COVID.
League.
Yeah,
They didn't have
COVID,
Summer League.
That's
right,
why.
yeah.
That's why I'd really had to go out on a limb because I had no idea. Zev, who's your rookie choice?
I think the obvious answer would be Jalen Green, just because I think that's the most likely. But I think a guy who I would really like to see win it, because I don't think we've seen a defensive-minded person win it in a while. As I really agree with Walt, is Davion Mitchell out of Sacramento. I really, really love watching him play. The shutdown defense, he reminds me a lot of Tony Allen.
That
I
game
think he's
against
got a legitimate
Gonzaga.
chance. If he wasn't playing in Sacramento, I think he would be more likely to get it. But another really unfortunate thing is I feel like if Evan Mobley was on a better team too, that he could get a chance to get it, but that he's really not surrounded by enough people to get him the looks that he needs to put on the season for that.
You should stick with Evan Mobley.
Yeah.
Evan Mobley's actually doing pretty well. I mean, he's going to be a double-double machine.
Evan Mobley's not doing bad at all. I like the Davion Mitchell pick, but weirdly enough, I think Davion Mitchell playing against so many Western Conference guards is just going to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
Steph Curry lit up the Kings, and I think at the end of the day, like, it's not you and I voting, you know? It's a bunch of NBA press, all type of stuff who, let's face it, lives on the East Coast, just and watching a bunch of Western Conference late-night games, and Steph Curry is just going to light him up.
Hey,
times a year.
hold on. Steph was 4 for 15 that game, and Davion held his own and scored 22 on him. Davion
he scored, but like
a rookie scored 22 on him, and
so
holding Steph 4 for 15 actually is really good
that's-
in Steph
that's
Curry
really-
standards.
That's really, really good. I'm not doubting that whatsoever. I'm going off of every single NBA highlight and, how did Curry do? And it was not all the highlights that I saw of that game were not of Mitchell on Curry. It was just of Mitchell basically being switched off. And the second he switched off, it's just the drop pass or whatever, right? And then Curry just hits the three. So 4 for 15 is a great stat. I think Mitchell will play incredibly good defense, but defense wins championships, not necessarily personal awards. So Not to knock yours too much, Zev, but I'm gonna knock it a little bit. I think Evan Mobley's a good pick though. If you want to take Evan Mobley instead,
I think that's what I'm going to go with.
you gotta pick a guy who's gonna get a ton of minutes and be like one of the best guys on his team for Rookie of the Year. That's why if Walter really did want to stick with Giddey, I'd be a little bit more cool with it, or okay with it. But sticking with Jalen Green's probably just as good. I mean,
I'm going 2 for 2, Rookie of the Years.
we'll see. Joel, who you got?
It's all about volume and opportunity. And of course, I'm going to go Chris out of Indiana. I think his opportunity is there. Yes, sir. Hitting 6 threes in his opening game, scoring over 20 points that game, and still consistently keeping it up. Again, we're kind of getting a cheat. We're getting a little sneak peek because if we would have did this podcast prior to October 19th when the season started, I probably wouldn't go Chris, but now I can kind of see at least the opportunity that is there in Indiana because they need a big-time scoring guard, which they haven't had in some time. And his
Oladipo.
Yeah, not since Oladipo, which has been a while now. So with the minutes he's going to get, the shots, if he's not leading the team in shots, he's got to be right up there. I'd imagine Sabonis is probably there with him, but he's getting a lot of shots, and he's shooting 45% from the three-point line. So, and there's something a maturity about his game. Now, Zev, you mentioned Davion Mitchell. He's probably like one of my favorite rookies to watch. Just because, like you mentioned, he just kind of has that, Marcus Smart, Patrick Beverley, just defensive tenacity to him, and I love watching guys like that. But he's not going to start unless De'Aaron Fox or Halliburton get injured, so the opportunity is definitely not there from the Rookie of the Year. But yeah, I like your sleeper though with Evan Mobley. He's just a double double machine, and obviously I think Kevin loves his time in Cleveland it has to be up, right? He has to get moved. I mean, he's not going to finish his career in Cleveland, right?
I hope not.
I mean, if the amnesty clause was still a thing, he wouldn't. But I mean,
does he need to throw another ball at someone? Or?
I mean, basically, Kevin Love is in a bad situation. He was paid way too much money by an owner who wanted to get back at LeBron for leaving, and now he's kind of stuck. I mean, I think they have to trade away a pick with Kevin Love.
Walter, was that a yawn? Come on, man.
It's been a couple. It's been a couple yawns.
We're the ones supposed to be yawning. We were out there hooping, man. You didn't even make it.
No, I'm looking at the clock too. I got to get the antacid tablet in me soon so I can be ready for tomorrow.
All right, well, we'll wrap this one up then pretty quickly.
Sorry.
So, you're good.
I'm not afraid to admit that I'm getting older, Calvin. I need it to drink.
Rookie of the Year, Calvin.
Rookie of the Year. I'm sure you guys are going to be just shocked by this, but I'm going to go with the second odds-on favorite, Cade Cunningham. Joel said volume. I think Cade's going to just have flashes of brilliance and great volume stats, all type of stuff. Doesn't hurt that he's just going to be able to put up a ton of shots. Although I will say, if Malcolm Brogdon gets traded during the season, which I think we can see at some point, then all of a sudden Chris Duarte looks like a great pick. But maybe he won't get traded. I mean, because if he gets traded, he's going to get traded for pieces probably. It's probably not going to be Ben Simmons. So, and that's Malcolm Brogdon on the Pacers. But I think, Cade Cunningham is going to get so many minutes, so many good looks, and having a bunch of three-point shooters, Jeremy Grant, Sadiq Bey from the wing, those guys are 40% three-point shooters. That's going to make his assists, all that type of stuff, just go through the roof. So he's going to have that a little bit more to his advantage than a guy like Giddey or Green or even Duarte would have necessarily. So, once you can pad those stats, Rookie of the Year candidate. That's why I like Cunningham a lot. All right, MVP votes for everyone. Walter, start with you since you're fading a little bit.
Yeah, fading. And someone
asked.
Save it? Someone asked and said, "What is the antacid I take?" I take Nexium. 24 hours. It's great.
Who asked this?
It was a question. I got it. Hey. Company
it's not in any comment. Anyway.
I got it on my phone. I don't know how it happened. Anywho, also would have been nice to know that we're live. I didn't know that either, but good thing I did.
Said that when we started the podcast. I said that several times on the podcast.
Okay.
Whenever we glitched out, you guys can hear me.
It's a long day.
What's the matter if it's live?
Basketball.
What's the matter if it's live? What's the difference?
Okay, I'm going to get back to my MVP conversation here. Thank you. Let's be civil now.
Okay.
I'm going Kevin Durant. I think without Kyrie Irving, I think Harden's going to take some games off. I think Kevin's going to average easily 30 points a game. I think he'll be able to, help carry this team to the number 1 seed, if not number 2 behind Milwaukee. I think he's probably and just to come off of last season with the foot on the line, to be able to pretty much just dominate the Olympics, I think he's just going to come back and dominate the NBA.
All right, Joel, what about you? Who you picking?
I'm going the guy that's walking out of OKC with a dub. I'm going Steph Curry again. I think he's on a whole nother level. He's still, which he has been for quite some time now. But I think with the expected return of Clay, they're not going to be able to key on him like they were the last couple seasons now. Falling short these last 2 years, missing the playoffs. But I believe Steph Curry is. I mean, he's the poster child for what a superstar NBA player is looking like with this new group coming into the league. And I think a lot of people want to be like Steph, and he set the bar real high, and he's dominating again, averaging 31 points per game. I mean now it's not even so much the scoring that's been going on for his whole career, but now he's doing everything else, getting his assists up, his rebounds up, and the team's winning again. So I'm going Steph Curry.
All right, and Zev, who do you got?
I'm just to be different, because I was also going to say Kevin Durant, and so I will not. But I think that Giannis really has a chance to pull it back into Milwaukee if he can have another huge and durable season like he had a few years ago. At least in the first game, not that Miami game, but that first game, he just looked unstoppable. And then they got blown out in Miami. But I think he just looks top tier still, and I think he has a definite chance to win it.
All right. Well, what Giannis would be his third or second MVP? I know he's got one. Third. So, I mean, he's been doing pretty darn good. Granted, NBA champion, so his name's going to be mentioned a lot. But another guy whose name was mentioned a lot last year, who I actually picked for MVP last year, I'm picking again for MVP this year. And that's Luka Doncic. This kills me a little bit. Mavericks haven't really played necessarily. Too many great teams. Granted, they played the Hawks, lost that game on last week, but they played the Raptors and they played the Rockets so far this season. They've won both. It's great. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just gonna take Luka, move on with it, and just say whatever. I think the Mavericks will be pretty darn good. I think they'll make the playoffs again, and I think Luka will have some really, really big moments. Moses Brown, former Thunder guy, won't probably do too much difference for him. I just want to throw it out there to get Walter to see if he's still awake. But Jalen Brunson, Dre Burke,
Thought Moses
Tim
Brown
Hardaway
was on the Celtics, but I guess not.
Hey, he got traded again.
Again.
Really, this is one of those awards where it's great if you have a bunch of role players on your team that are good, but not insanely great. That's why none of us picked LeBron in my eyes, because Anthony Davis is too good. So that's why I'm taking Luka in that hindsight, right? Chris Middleton on the Bucks, pretty darn good. We'll see if he's great or if Giannis has to be great. And Steph Curry, really good, but if Clay's also really good, so that's why I'm kind of trying to split the difference here and take Luka as a little bit of a different avenue.
He got that first half to show out, which he's been doing.
Yeah, that's true. Which honestly, Curry I think is a great pick too.
It's interesting that none of us said the Joker, that we all just kind of passed on that as that's a one-off season.
I just don't think there's any repeat MVPs anymore, to be honest. I think repeat MVPs just won't be happening for a little bit longer. It'd have to be like LeBron or somebody just taking over the league.
Okay.
Steve Nash won it 3 years in a row.
Oh my God.
Didn't win the finals once.
I thought Steve Nash was showed out. Two. He won it. I thought Steve Nash was 2.
That was 05, 06,
but Giannis won it 2 years too, didn't he?
Yeah, that's true. So I just don't think we'll see the Joker win back to back. Just a little bit of Facebook comment here as we ended out the show. Bo, thanks for chiming in here. He's taking the Spurs, and he agrees with Walter with the MVP will be in the East. He wants to
Walter,
see
somebody agreed with you.
Tatum.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bo's a good man, very smart man,
Bo's a good man, very smart man.
gentleman and a
Glad you say
scholar.
that. Yeah. So if you missed out on tuning into the podcast live, we will try to make this a scheduled programming for Thursday nights at 9:30. Granted, I'm in Oklahoma City this week, so stuff is a little bit different. But next week, probably back Thursday nights at 9:30 Central Standard Time and 7:30 Pacific.
Was this a record for how many times this specific one got postponed? Was that a record?
No. Wait, are you saying like of the big three in OKC podcast getting postponed, or are you saying of any podcast I've done getting postponed?
This group.
Oh yeah, this record, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You had one that beat this?
Dude, I have still trying to record a podcast with somebody for 2 years now.
Oh.
And it's just literally just like, oh yeah, man, we'll find time. And I'm like, oh yeah, we will. And then all of a sudden the night like that person is free, it's like I'm just like, dude, I'm literally at an event. Like I could not do it. So
Must be somebody pretty popular.
I'm not going to comment any further. I still want to do the podcast.
Hey, you can talk
I know
about
they
it
are.
more on the catch up.
There it is. There it is. Time to
Please,
go.
if you haven't already heard, please listen to the latest episode of the Catch Up that was recorded 2 weeks ago before Oklahoma State lost their first game against Iowa State. But also, please follow the CJ Tour on Twitter and Instagram for more. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch everyone again soon here. And hopefully make the podcast just a little bit shorter, just so we can all get to bed a little bit earlier. Right, Walter?
Yes.
All right. All right. Such a confident yes. Thank you guys so much again, and we'll catch everyone soon. Peace.